Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am ce-mintt with 2 T's because of copyright, and you know exactly what time it is. We're about to break down the TS Madison Experience, so let's get into it, okay? Episode 5. So we left off with a huge fight happening at TS Madison's surprise birthday party between Oliver, Chi-Chi, and going basically against Craig, who did not want to help set up because he had a cute outfit on. Rightfully so, Chi-Chi and Oliver were upset, but when this episode starts off, I was like, so I guess we're not getting resolution on that immediately. I guess that was just like a moment and that they put it under themselves, put it as water under the bridge. And so I'm assuming that when the episode opened and they didn't start with like that conclusion, I'm like, I guess it's water under the bridge, but I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to see the conversation that came out after. But we get to see them preparing and everything, and you can see Craig still being the bougie one, showing up immediately being like, Miss Mary, please don't start that prayer thing. And I love that TS was like, you cannot come up in here immediately making demands. This is my trip. And that's correct. And it made me so freaking happy to see, because I was like, yes, yes. It reminds me of a family vacation like mine growing up, and so I was like, I'm kind of at home with it. I'm not mad. You know what I mean? So, we start off by getting to see Maddie get to sit down with her friend and activist Hope. I immediately was just like, this woman is beautiful. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. And it was a conversation about moving forward, about being your most honest and truthful self, and how do you live on a platform of uplifting other black trans people while also not necessarily standing in your own truth. And it was something that I literally had to face literally 3-4 months ago. So for me, the whole conversation was just like, damn, like the universe really just zoned in and was just like, Junior, you need to hear this. And watching the whole thing, it was just so amazing, because even the phone call that TS made to like her dad, I was like, this was me talking to my dad on the phone like less than 4 months ago, until I put my foot down. And it was something that, like, hearing it, like the consistent sons, yeah, son, dad naming, all of it. Like, it was like the type of thing where like, oh my god, my dad did that all the time, because it was, I don't know what it is, where it's like, yeah, even before I like came out as trans, my dad would never be like, son, 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 all of this. It was like, oh my god, you really are just, you just can't accept me for who I am. And I've had my own long conversations, and that's for a whole nother video, but let's get back to Maddie. So when it comes to Maddie, the whole conversation was one that I keep thinking about. I feel like I say it about every single scene. It was so healing, because there are so many trans people who are going to be watching that video, and it's going to be like, oh wow, I kind of have some more strength now to like navigate this difficult thing in my life, aka relationship with people who don't respect you. And it was something that, it made me feel so secure, because I was like, oh my god, TS is going through the same exact thing at this point in her life. Like, because in my head, TS is this idol who like, oh yeah, her whole life is figured out, because like, you know, she's proud black trans woman on the internet, like she has a whole career about this, TV shows, all of these things. But then to see like, oh my god, we are so similar, so similar. It just blew my mind, and I loved Hope's support and conversation, but holding accountable to be like, he treats you this way because you allow him. And that was the thing I had to face too. It was like, no, this isn't optional. This isn't optional. This is who I am. This is how I'll be addressed. There's no option. You may have known a bitch by that name, but that bitch is dead. That bitch is never coming back. This is the bitch you're facing. No, right here. And it made me so happy to see. That's what like community looks like. That's the black trans community I know. That's the like people who like supported me and helped me to get to the loving space I'm in. And yeah, it was so beautiful to witness. And that was sisterhood right there. That was sisterhood, and it just warmed my whole freaking heart. And then we get the entirety of the RV. That is the next so now we enter the journey of the rest of the episode, which is basically getting down to Miami, getting the RV and everything. And I basically just gonna lump the whole thing in, because really breaking down the scenes isn't necessary, because the whole thing is basically like one big scene. Because the whole thing is basically one big scene. So you see them in the RV, and first of all, I absolutely love the fact that the driver, I cannot remember her name right now, I want to say Helen, but hysterical. She was like, oh yeah, I never drove one of these before, and lied in the other video, be like, yeah, I drove. It was hysterical because I was like, I would be nervous, but also, I guess it's just like an RV that goes on the highway. At least it's not one of those big ones, you know, those Winnebagos where like, no, you can't literally go under certain bridges. And so, yeah, I would have been nervous, but it was a funny moment. And I absolutely love that Oliver noticed exactly what Maddie was doing too, with like, no, we're about to come up and like plot some things out. We're going to figure out what the show's going to be. We're going to figure out exactly what it's going to be. And I think it was fantastic because it's just like family. The only time you can ever get everybody together is when you can trap them in a room. And that's just the real tea. I had to come out to my family at my grandmother's funeral because it was like, no, I know I will never get all of y'all in a room again. So right now. And so like, yep, we're all in an RV. There's no stopping. There's no going home. There's no like being like, no, I don't want to do this. But we're here. Let's do this. And I think you really got to see them put themselves on the shelf in all of the beefs and all the arguments, because it was not like there was that many, but just like anything that they may have had, they put it aside and just, yeah, came together and created some art and figured out exactly what the rest of the career could be for Maddie that also includes everybody and it allows everyone to succeed. And that is what I'm excited to see, okay? What else? And then we get to see them get to Miss Mary's house in Miami, and you get to see all of Maddie's past photos, past memories, the streets that she walked, the streets that she worked, the streets that she hustled on. It brought back so many emotions in myself of like having to face the places where you didn't feel accepted and face the places where you had to fight the hardest for your life. And it was so beautiful, and it reminds me every single time I watch the scenes, because I record them and I watch them back, and so every time I watch them it reminded me that who I am and the path that I've walked, and me sharing it is a piece of me that I have to share with the ones that I love, and it's something that informs exactly who I am, and without them knowing that piece, it's something that they don't get the full image. And I think that that's what Maddie really did, because I got the full image as a fan. As a fan, I got the full image of like where she actually came from and why she is the way she is and who she is. And I absolutely loved all the honesty. I think that I'm so excited to see how they move forward as a group, because it's like one of those things where you fully see somebody in a different light. Like you see Maddie in a complete different light. You understand why money triggers her. You understand why everything happens the way it does is because she has had to live a certain way. And I think that once Maddie accepted that that's a piece of her she had to tackle and share with the one she loved, I think it was something that you realize that she's beginning a new chapter. Like when you really sit there, you realize that you're really watching a metamorphosis during this entire episode, because you see her from the beginning of the episode, like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is what I want to do. I'm pretty sure I want to take all these shows and put them into one. And then you see them on the bus coming up with what her whole career could be in terms of like what the show could look like, everything. And then you see her tackling her past, and you see her actually opening up old wounds to actually let those wounds air out instead of continue to fester. And it was just so beautiful, because even getting to see her with her family, getting to see her little nephew and niece, it was like, this is amazing, because it's the future that I want to have. Like, I'm so happy that I came out to my family and stood in my truth and told them exactly how they're going to be respecting me and treating me, because now I'm actually excited about like my brothers having kids and stuff like that, because I'm like, wow, I'm going to get to show up and they're going to be like, that's Auntie Junior, and I'm going to be like, yes bitch, it is. I'm just, yeah, it gave me a lot of hope and a lot of beautiful hope, happiness, emotions, all the positive emotions, because yeah, you know, oftentimes you get to see black trans people with their family and happy families that love and support them for who they are. And so yeah, makes me very happy. And I think over the next few episodes I'm excited to see how everyone's relationship evolves in terms of their connection to each other, because it's only going to grow deeper now that they know this information, now that they see the family, that they see the past, that they see where she grew up and everything. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. And then really like I could go way more in depth, but it would just really just be about my own life because it really connected, because these scenes were just so impactful for exactly what they were. She said everything she did. Like, I can't elaborate or break it down anymore. With the moment that she says, like, yeah, I remember this, like, some fans came out the grass, we just ran, and then I just, like, saw this car, and I knocked on the window and said, let me in, I gave you some pussy for free. And then he let me in, and we drove, girl. Like, her seeing that whole scene was when we was like, and now you know exactly why TS is TS. Even in all of the nuanced conversations and dialogue that we get to see between, yeah, the family saying, like, you'll always be a brother or whatever, that it was all things that were, like, very just honest. That's the thing that I can only appreciate about it, is because while these people aren't perfect, this is how they make it work. And this is how they can be happy together. And this is how they can support each other. And as well, I love that this is TS coming in and being like, no, I'm changing things because I don't feel respected anymore. And this is how I want to grow these relationships. Because, yeah, as a trans person, as a black trans person, when I first was discovering my transness and was coming out and was coming to terms with the fact that I wanted to, like, talk to my family about it, it's something where, like, you kind of just want them to immediately jump into being 100% perfect, like, you know, like, you want them to jump into being woke and perfect and all of these things and understand it immediately, but that's just not how any relationship works. And so to see them at that stage is like, that's what it looks like to have a consistent working relationship with your family as a black trans woman, and having to navigate that and having to navigate their emotions too, because what they're feeling is what they're feeling, and you have to navigate that. And I just, honestly, I think about it so much, and I'm just so thankful that I got to witness all of this, because I felt seen. I felt seen in all of these scenes. And then we get the final scene, which is TS sitting down with her dad. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics of what was said. I'm not going to go into the details of the dad or anything. All I can say is I'm so proud of Maddie for the way that she handled it, for the way that she stuck up for herself, for the way that she stood her ground, because all we can say is the dad is transphobic and the dad is wrong, because at the end of the day, it breaks my heart, because I carry the same amount of love and the same kindness and perspective that TS carried into that conversation, and I've had multiple conversations with a lot of people like that, where you just, it's hapless and it's hopeless, and I can't force you to see me as a person. I can't force you to see me as who I am. And that's why it was even more heartbreaking to watch, because it was something where you could see how much energy and effort that Maddie put into setting this up, going there, facing this, and as well showing him as much respect as possible, because I did the same thing. I completely understand where you're like, my goal is to have a dad in my life. Like, I don't want to not have you. Like, I don't want to not have you. Even in the most complicated relationship, like, even in the rocky, distant relationship, I still want you here. And so I understood it. And so the fact of, like, sitting there and being like, the one person that you're like, I'm willing to go these lengths, I'm willing to do these things to, like, meet you halfway. Can you just see me as a person? And then to have that shut down, it's like, you deserve better, Maddie. And I'm intrigued to see how the rest of the conversation goes, because it ended on the final line of, like, him saying that she was possessed. And I was like, and we already got to the possession portion. Okay, this is a mess. Because it's just, there's some beliefs that people will really whip out of a hat where you're like, what? What? And the whole time you're like, is that what you thought this whole time? Like, every single time we were on the phone, every single time we texted, anytime, all of this, you just like, this bitch is possessed? That's what you think. I'm ready for the next episode. I'm ready to see exactly how she handles it. And honestly, I hope she walks away. I hope she just gets up and walks away. Because at some point, like, you don't get to sit here and say that I'm possessed and have me still sit here. Like, no. But yeah, amazing episode, because this was an episode where Tia has been standing in her truth every episode, but this one was one where it was like, you could see that really she wasn't she was vulnerable. She was vulnerable in a very new and different way, and it makes me love her even more and want to tune in again next week. So, check back here next week for again. Check back here after the next episode, and you know we're going to be breaking it down again. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your views. Thank you for your likes, comments, and subscribes, because, bitch, we need them. So please comment, like, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching this, and I will catch you on the next episode. Bye. Work. Okay.